What's happening, everyone? I'm James Lynch, and this is the Fanatics View Hockey Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Special Friday edition. And the reason we're having a special Friday edition of the show is because we're going to be joined by former Canucks forward Brendan Morrison a little bit later here on the show. We're going to get at Brendan for about 15, 20 minutes around there and talk to him about everything that's going on right now with the Vancouver Canucks. Of course, they're going to be playing Game 3 tonight in Nashville. Just a note for everyone out there, earlier start for people on the West Coast, going to be at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, 7:30 Eastern. So we're used to usually 7 Pacific for the series. It will be a lot earlier today. I'm actually going to Rogers Arena tonight. I got tickets to watch the game in the arena at Rogers Arena where the Canucks play. So really excited to be doing that. But we obviously are going to be talking about that game. We've got a couple of games on the docket tonight. I'll just briefly mention those while we're waiting for Brendan. I did hop on here a little bit earlier. You can see there we've got the New York Rangers and Washington Capitals. The Rangers can take a stranglehold on that series by going up 3-0. The Canucks and Predators, like I mentioned as well. And then we got the Colorado Avalanche and the Winnipeg Jets. The Avs tying up the series in their last game. So we'll see if Winnipeg can do anything here tonight, take advantage of this. It will be in Colorado, so obviously the favorites are going to be the Avalanche. We'll also get to some bets for tonight and get a little update on Demko's injury, Thatcher Demko's injury on the Canucks. We're hearing some conflicting reports out there right now. We'll sort of follow this story as it goes along. But like we usually do here on this channel, let's have a look at some of the content that was posted on here last night. Of course, you're going to see here a lot of interviews. We had some post-game stuff from the Dallas Stars, the Vegas Golden Knights from the other night. Obviously, Dallas down 2-0 in their series since the last time we spoke. If you guys remember on this show, I did pick Dallas to win the Stanley Cup, so we'll see if they're able to do anything with that. Being down 2-0 against the Knights is going to be a tall task. We got the Canucks post-game stuff as well as Nashville Predators. So the nice thing about this channel is you get a mix of sort of everything on here. And look who we have right now going to be joining us here on the show. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. 1/3 of the West Coast Express from the Vancouver Canucks, someone I've had the pleasure of speaking to in the past, but now we're actually going to be coming on here and talking some hockey. I think his camera just went out a second ago, so we'll see if we can figure that out here in a second. But yeah, we got him back. There it is. Brendan Morrison joining us here on the Fanatics View Hockey Show. Brendan, how are you this morning?
I'm great, thanks. Technology, crazy.
Hey, you made it work. You made it work. No one even noticed. Only I saw the camera go off behind the scenes. And Brendan, it is so great to talk to you again. Last time we came on, we were talking about your fishing show, and we were talking a bit of MMA, which is my world. But I've been doing a hockey show here now on Fanatics View. But I wanted to first and foremost start about the fact that you're going to be you have a YouTube channel now, and I think that's really cool to see a lot of former players or people like yourself launch that. Tell me a bit about the channel that's launching here very soon.
Yeah, we just launched it here actually just over a week ago, and it's kind of a new venture, and I kind of talked into it by my partner and producer, content creator for Real West Coast, Mike Bemister, who does he's jack of all trades for the fishing show. He makes it happen, and he just thought it would be a cool time to try and pursue this. He's been on me to do it for like the last 3 years, and I've always been pushing it off. But I figured, you know what, let's give it a try. It's a fun time of year. The first time Vancouver has hosted a playoff game in 9 years, and it would be an opportune time to try to connect with fans and try to relive some memories and experiences that I had.
Yeah, and I think it's a great idea. In my world, in MMA, a lot of fighters now are doing their own YouTube channels because they're able to just post the content they want. They don't have to worry about doing an interview and things being taken out of context. They can kind of get the message they want out there. So I think that's really awesome. And again, very well respected, your accolades and everything. By the way, I also got to give you props. I loved you on that documentary that they did on the Real West Coast, the Scott Rintoul one, the audio podcast. What was it like kind of reliving all that? I know some tough moments, but obviously a lot of great moments captivating the city of Vancouver with the West Coast Express.
Yeah, you know what? Scotty Rintoul did an amazing job with that. And we had known that was in the works for a couple of years. He had called us and told us about the idea and asked us if we were on board. And we all said, absolutely. And he did a magnificent job kind of going behind the scenes. And I learned a lot of things on that podcast that I didn't even know before. So very intriguing, great storytelling. He got a lot of really influential guests that kind of came on and gave their perspective of things and what happened behind the scenes in that time period, in that era. So, I really enjoyed it, and it was a lot of fun to listen to it.
Let's talk about the Canucks in the playoffs. Obviously, some devastating news we heard before Game 2. Thatcher Demko out with an injury. Tyler Myers is out. We'll kind of be keeping tabs if Myers will be back in the lineup here tonight. But the latest we're hearing this morning, this is straight from Frank Saravelli. I want to get your reaction to this. According to Frank, I believe he's out for the series, referring to Demko. The Canucks can get into the second round. He's got a chance to play again. I did see a report that he's done for the playoffs, but I don't think that's accurate. Brendan, you've played when you have not had your starting goaltender. Of course, Demko, a really important piece of this team. What's the mood in the locker room like when you know you got to rely on your backup and you're not going to be having that extra edge with a goalie like Thatcher Demko?
Well, I mean, there's no denying that it's tough news, right? I mean, this is a game breaker, an all-star, a guy that can single-handedly win games for the hockey team. But I think that the positive or the silver lining in this terrible news is Casey DeSmith has done a good job this year. He's done a really good job when he's called upon to come in, and his teammates like him a lot. I mean, he got an awesome reception from the fans the other night. So everybody's rooting for him, everybody's cheering for him, and everyone believes that he can do the job. I think as a team, kind of galvanizes the group a little bit. You kind of get counted out now that your number one guy's gone, and mentally, I think it might change your approach a little bit as far as, okay, we need to tighten up here defensively. We need to take a page out of the Predators book and get in shot lanes. We got to block shots, but just, you don't want to change your game too much. And, but it does, I think, bring the group a little closer together.
If I remember correctly, I remember the year Bertuzzi got suspended. Was Cloutier not injured in that series as well, and Alexander Auld played? Or there was something I remember Auld playing that series against Calgary. So a bit similar here, where you guys had a really strong team, were considered maybe a favorite to go all the way. How did you guys rally around Alex and sort of give him that support that, hey, listen, we got you. We'll get some goals here?
Yeah, so what happened in that series against Calgary is you're exactly right. So Klutz got hurt. I think it was game 3. Mm-hmm. And he had been playing unbelievable for us at the end of the season and played great those first couple games. He gets hurt. Johan Hedberg was our backup. So so the Moose, his nickname.
The Moose Mask, yes, from the Manitoba Moose. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Moose comes in game 3. I think we win game 3. He comes in game 4. We lose game 4. And then we went to Alex Auld, who essentially was playing the whole year for the Manitoba Moose, right? Because Johan was our backup. So Aldi comes in, plays game 5, 6, and 7, and again, it's mentally you just try to prepare the same way. You try not to really change your approach, but I mean, you do have that mentality, a little bit of subconsciously even just tightening up. Let's try and help this guy out. I mean, we believe he can do the job. He's obviously, he's here for a reason. The coaches believe in him, and he'd been around the team a little bit that year, played a couple games, so. It's a matter of, hey, he's going to do his job. Just worry about doing your job.
Before we talk about game 2 in a second, because that's obviously the last time we saw the Canucks play. If anyone has any questions for Brendan, we'll try and get to a few at the end. Obviously, an absolute legend here from the West Coast Express era of the Vancouver Canucks. But my assessment of game 2 is this. I actually thought they played well. They weren't getting the chances they wanted. We saw the empty net miss from, I think, Miller broke his stick, and then Elias Pettersson obviously missing the net as well. But the key in that game was the block shots by Nashville. I don't think it was a goaltending issue. I know, some people talking about the body language with the Smith, maybe not feeling super confident, but I don't really think you can hold his head too down in terms of some of the goals that were scored. To me, it looked like a team that just got a couple bad breaks, couldn't take advantage of power plays. How did you assess game 2 from your perspective? Because I believe you were actually in the arena for that one.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to get invited to go to the game and attended it. And it was an amazing experience, watching from a fan's perspective instead of, being on the bench as a player. You don't really appreciate everything that goes into a game like that and the emotions up in the stands. So that was a lot of fun. I agree with you. I don't think Vancouver played poorly. I mean, you look at how many chances they actually gave up. Hey, they would sign up for that every single game of the year if they give up, those few chances. And no issue with the goaltending at all. I mean, nothing Casey DeSmith could have done on any of the goals. The first one was that high tip. Yeah. I mean, great deflection. The second one is a world-class goal by a world-class player. I mean, that's a goal on any goaltender in any league. And the third one is, a costly turnover that he makes the initial save, rebound goes in the net. So no issues with the goaltending. I think Vancouver plays that game 10 times against Nashville. They win it 9 times. It's just one of those games where things didn't work out for them. I thought they deserved better. I remember walking out of the rink thinking, I can't believe they lost that game. I mean, they controlled pretty much every statistical category aside from the score, which obviously is the most important. And Nashville did a great job with block shots, right? So I think they just got to stick with it. They don't need to make too many huge adjustments. Maybe look at getting pucks away a little bit quicker, one-time shots, traffic to the net. Things that they're probably already talking about. But I don't think they need to make a huge adjustment. I mean, they had the puck a significant amount of time more than Nashville. They were dangerous at certain times. A few more pucks to the net, and I think they're in business.
I think too, you need your star guys to step up a little bit. I know there's sort of mixed reactions in this market about Elias Pettersson, because he is playing good defense, but maybe not giving the Canucks that lift that you need in the playoffs. I think there's a few times you saw on the power play, especially, where there's a little bit of that hesitation, not shooting the puck. I think people want to see him get that release off and do that. And it's not just him. There's other players that need to elevate their game as well. You've been in the playoffs before. Like, how crucial is that to have your star guys really kind of pick the team up a little bit and not necessarily relying on everyone else on the team?
Well, you need everybody going every night, and you're going to have certain guys step up that maybe aren't your star players on a nightly basis. But with that being said, yes, you need your star guys to be your star guys. And right now, I know there's a lot of talk about Pettersson. I don't want to pile on him because he's an elite player, but can he be better? Absolutely. And I think he admitted that after the game too. I mean, it wasn't like he was deferring or passing blame. I mean, he took the onus on himself, and he's a proud enough guy to understand that he needs to be better for the team to be successful. And he just has to guard from frustration creeping into his game. Like, I think he had 9 shot attempts last game, 2 missed the net, 7 were blocked. When you have 7 shots blocked, you'd like to think it doesn't change your mentality, but it does. I mean, you don't want to keep forcing pucks into areas that haven't been successful. But I think the message from the coaching staff, the message from his teammates is, hey, keep doing what you're doing. I mean, you have success for a reason. The type of player you are, you got an amazing shot, your ability to read. Hey, if you have a shot, take the shot. If you have a chance to make a play, make a play. I mean, every situation is different for these guys, and he's got such a high hockey IQ. You expect him to make the right decision. So he can't get into a place where he's thinking too much. He just has to go out and react. Once you start thinking, it's too late. So just go out, trust your instincts, and react.
How big tonight is the fact that they don't let the first goal in? We talked about the first goal in the last game. A bit of a weird one. If you remember, Quinn Hughes sort of fell over a little bit out of position. The puck goes and it sort of does this weird bounce and it goes in. And again, to Smith, it's kind of tough to see that one. That's been a theme the last 2 games where they've let in the first goal. How crucial is that to get that first goal and kind of set the tone of the game?
Yeah, I think it would help them a lot for sure. I mean, both games they've given up the first goal pretty early in the game. Able to bounce back in game 1, but yeah, I mean, it does change your mindset. I think it will change the mindset more so of Nashville than Vancouver. Like, Nashville is kind of comfortable sitting back, playing with a 1-goal lead. I think they get a little bit more uncomfortable if they get behind and they have to open up a little bit, which in turn should lead to more chances for Vancouver. Now, Nashville doesn't want to get into a game where they're trading chances, rushes up and down the ice. I don't think that's the style that they want to play against the Canucks. I mean, that's kind of where Vancouver, has done a lot of damage this year. So, for Nashville to play at the lead, it only helps them and their game plan. So it would be nice for Vancouver to get on the board first.
Taking all bias out of this aside, do you think the Canucks can win this series without Thatcher Demko?
I do. I still believe they can win this in 6 games. I firmly believe that. I know, and that's not disrespecting Nashville. I mean, they've had, they may be the best team in the league here the past 6 weeks.
Oh yeah,
they've been on fire. But I do think Vancouver's depth. You look statistically, offensive production, defensive production, special teams. I mean, Vancouver across the board is leading in every category. I mean, that doesn't always mean that you're entitled to win the series. I mean, there's a lot of intangibles that go into it. And a lot of things can happen when in the playoffs, such as injuries. But I do believe this team has the ability to beat Nashville, and I think they can get it done in 6 games.
I do as well. I think on paper they are the better team, and I think, just having, obviously Demko gives you that edge, but if you look on paper with this team and what they've accomplished this season, they should beat Nashville here. I think top to bottom they are the better team, but it's a matter of putting it together and actually doing it. And tonight's a key game, right? You go into Nashville, you win that game there, that really does change the momentum of the series as well. Brendan, just as a fan, kind of sitting back and watching, who do you really enjoy seeing on the Canucks, this version of the Canucks? You had some great players that you played with. You think a defenseman, Matthias Ohlund. We've got Quinn Hughes now. I don't think we've ever seen anyone like this in a Canucks uniform before. You've got some character guys like Dakota Joshua. It's really the makeup of this team is very interesting. It does remind me a lot of the team that you had when you were playing on the West Coast Express. Just as a fan, who do you really enjoy watching on the team?
Well, I would say my favorite player to watch on the team right now is probably Quinn Hughes. I mean, yeah. I love his edge work, his skating ability, his ability to escape from pressure, walk the blue line, create chances like seemingly out of nothing, right? I mean, you watch opposition wingers now that come towards him. They're so hesitant to charge at him, for fear that they're going to get embarrassed. But I think he's really taken a step this year with his game, obviously being named the captain, and he's taken a lot more onus upon himself to have impacts on games. I think he's been the best player on the ice the first 2 games by far, hands down. It hasn't even been close. The amount of puck possession time he's had. You look at that pass he made on the power play last game to Pettersson backdoor. I mean, that's a world-class play. And the other thing that he's really improved upon this year is he's defending, right? A lot of times he's playing those tough matchups. So he's probably my favorite player to watch on Vancouver right now.
Who's your Cup favorite right now? Again, we'd all love Vancouver to win the Cup. Let's be honest here. I mean, it would be amazing. The drought, the Canadian drought and all that stuff as well. But right now, just looking at all the teams, who do you think has the strongest chance?
Man, there's so much parity in the league right now. It's crazy. You look at in the West, you have the top team in the West, Dallas, who's in an 0-2 hole to Vegas, right? Yeah. Like how do you count out the defending Stanley Cup champions? I actually picked Dallas in that series.
So did I. I picked Dallas to win the Cup, Brendan. I think they're the deepest team, and you add Tanev in the mix. I mean, that is a tough team, but Vegas is just, you get Mark Stone back. It really is like a lightning bolt for them.
Huge, and they're getting good goaltending. And they're not even playing the goaltender who won the Cup last year.
That's right. Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. He's injured.
It's bizarre. And you add, and they have an embarrassment of riches. And you add Thomas Hurdle's back healthy and Eichel. I mean, they're a dangerous team. But my favorite right now, and I know it's early, is Carolina.
Okay.
Carolina out of the East. I think they've kind of been talked about the last couple of years. They've had some heartbreak. I think the big thing for them is goaltending. They kind of have a bit of a rotation, although Anderson's their guy right now. But I think their team depth, they have a great back end, and they play a relentless style of hockey, kind of molded after their coach there, Brendan Morrison. So that's kind of who I'm leaning towards right now.
And the big thing with Carolina this season, they finally went all in and got a superstar. They got Jake Getzel from Pittsburgh. You see that's been paying dividends for that team, so I certainly agree. I'll actually respectfully go against you here. I think the Panthers, you saw what they did last night to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay was one of those sleeper teams as well. You got Bobrovsky making saves, jumping over half the ice to make a save these days. If you've got that, and then you've got the combination of, a guy like Tkachuk and so many other good players on that team, I just think Florida looks unreal. So I think
I don't disagree with you, man. Like, I'll be honest,
for sure. Yeah.
For me, it's a coin toss between those two teams. I kind of went a bit of a limb, but yeah. Florida looks good. Wow, they look good.
Yeah, and we can't pick the Rangers, right? Because 94.
Can't pick.
Anyways, there you go. Let's get to some questions. So we're wrapping things up again. Really appreciate that. This comes from my buddy Carlin Bardsley. He says, ask Brendan about playing for Canada at the Worlds and winning gold. What did that mean to him?
Yeah, that was fun. I had an opportunity to represent Canada 3 times. I over in St. Petersburg in 2000, we came 4th. In 2004 in Prague, we won the gold medal. And in 2005, we won the silver medal in, where was that at? Innsbruck, I believe.
Sure.
But anyways, yeah, winning the gold medal was great. It was we played the Swedes in the final. They had a great team. We got behind early in that game, but we battled back, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's kind of bittersweet. I'll be honest. Like, it's awesome representing your country, and there's a ton of pride. But you're not playing in the playoffs, right? So that's the trade-off. So it means you either didn't make the playoffs or you got knocked out of the playoffs. But having the opportunity to represent your country is special, and having a chance to win a gold medal was pretty cool.
This comes from my good friend Andrew Stein. He says, how do you suggest Vancouver fights through the clogging of the lanes like Nashville did so well in Game 2? Looked like a 1997 game in that one. Yeah, I forget, 36 blocked shots I think they had, or something crazy like that.
Yeah, 32 or 36, whatever it was.
Yeah.
just stick with it. I mean, it's hard. It's easy to say, stick with it, believe in yourself. But it's that mentality of a short-term memory loss. Okay, a shot gets blocked, so what? I got to keep doing what you've been doing all year to be successful. One thing I do think they can do is think about shooting one-time pucks quicker, right? So instead of getting the puck on your stick, holding it for half a second, allowing Nashville time to kind of get in position in shot lanes, it's kind of, make a good pass, one time that puck towards the net, traffic at the net. The more pucks you get to the net, just the more dangerous things are going to be. I mean, it's shocking with the amount of blocks that Nashville had that something dangerous didn't happen out of those blocks. Normally you block a shot, you still get to the net, or blocks a shot and it goes in. So I think they keep the course, and I think good things will happen.
Another question here from Andrew, another great one. How do you reflect on your early years in New Jersey? And by the way, you did a great job explaining that on the podcast there, the documentary, I should say. And how did going to BC change your career? Of course, you're from Pitt Meadows originally, right? So,
yeah. So I grew up in Pitt Meadows, played all my minor hockey out there in Ridge Meadows, and early on in my career, it was a great learning experience for me. I was with the New Jersey Devils, and we had a lot of veterans on that team. I mean, a lot of Hall of Fame guys. Scotty Stevens was our captain, Scott Niedermayer, Marty Brodeur, Doug Gilmore, Dave Andrewchuk. I mean, the list goes on, and just learning from these guys was important, right? Like how to be a pro, how to be ready for games, how to prepare for games, all the things about being a solid professional. And, I think in New Jersey, when I look back in hindsight, I maybe got a little bit impatient with my career. I saw other guys that I was playing against in college and who were kind of getting more opportunities at other teams. And I was just in a situation where we had a lot of depth, and I was kind of, biding my time. But, I asked for a trade out of New Jersey, and they sent me to Vancouver. And for me personally, it was a great thing for my career. Got a chance to kind of grow up in Vancouver with a lot of guys that were my age, and we played an exciting brand of hockey in Vancouver, and I think really captivated the Vancouver hockey audience there in the early mid 2000s.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me a bit of JT Miller, same sort of thing on the depth chart in Tampa Bay. Gets to Vancouver, and now he's one of their best players, which is awesome. Much like yourself, Brendan. It was great. We'll get two more questions, and I got one more for you before we get out of here. Brendan, so in the fifth game back, Vancouver, who should come to crank the siren? Of course, Kirk McLean doing it the other night. Ryan Kessler the night before. She's saying Jeff Courtnall. Who would you like to see? And we should get you in there. I don't know what's going on.
I talked to someone a couple weeks about maybe doing it, but. You know what? Like what I would do, Game 5. And I know they're still part of the team. Let's get Daniel or Henrik in there.
Exactly.
Maybe they're saving them for when they go deeper, but you don't want to get too far ahead of yourselves. Daniel or Henrik, one of those guys up there, I think that would be awesome.
Okay, and just one more here. Should we expect some lineup changes to the power play news? Vancouver is one of the only two teams in the playoffs without a power play goal, which is interesting.
Yeah, so they've had 6 opportunities, 2 in Game 1, 4 in Game 2. They haven't scored yet. One thing I did talk about briefly was about possibly changing the look of having a one-time on that right flank. So right now, Miller's kind of playing in that position, which is not a one-time shot for him. I mean, he likes to come high, get that pass, and kind of, as we call it, kind of come attack downhill. And a lot of times he'll slide that puck through the seam to Pettersson. But I wouldn't mind seeing maybe Besser or Hronek on that right flank, who both guys that can shoot the puck extremely well. Maybe move, or even possibly Lindholm, right? Mm-hmm. So adding maybe Lindholm or Hronek to that top unit, maybe move JT Miller to net front presence, have him work the goal line. And you can either have Besser or Lindholm in the slot, or Besser and Hronek on that flank. So maybe a slight adjustment there might change things. But, Vancouver's power play has been decent all year. But they need, that's what gives offensive guys energy, right? When you go multiple times without scoring on the power play, it kind of takes your energy away if you're not having success. But if you're moving the puck around, you're getting touches, you feel good, it gets you into the game, you score on the power play, it really carries over to 5-on-5 play.
Got to get one MMA question in here because I know you're a fan. Did you watch the UFC 300? I'm sure you saw the Max Holloway knockout.
Yeah, I was actually traveling that night, so I was trying to get as much as I could. When I got home, I watched a bunch of the replays and that, but that was that. I mean, there's
Pointing
no
to the ground
word.
and saying, "Let's go!" And when he's up in the fight, 4-0, right?
That is the definition of that belt, wouldn't you say? The
Yeah.
bad MF. Like everybody's like, what? He's up 3-1. What is he doing? I mean, he moves up a weight class. He's going to go bang with a guy who's notorious for knocking guys out, and then he knocks him out. Like, oh my goodness, that was epic. Like, yeah, speechless. Really, that was insane.
It's always epic getting to do interviews with you, Brendan. Really appreciate it, man. Before we get out of here, just let people know where they can find your YouTube channel, everything you got going on with Real West Coast, and anything else you want to plug, man. The floor is yours.
Well, I appreciate that. Very generous of you. So yeah, I mean, the YouTube channel is Brendan Morrison on YouTube. We're about five videos in. So we're in our infancy here, but we're having a lot of fun with it. You know, so it's a good way to engage with people, like, as you know, right? Like, it's awesome to talk about things that you're passionate about. And the fishing show, yeah, Real West Coast. We're heading into our 8th season here. So we also have a YouTube channel for Real West Coast, and if people would like to subscribe to both of those, that would be awesome for us. It's great for our sponsors, right? They like to see subscribers, so it always helps things.
Certainly does. Appreciate it, Brendan. We'll be in touch. We got to get you back on here at some point. Hopefully the Canucks will be going later in the series, or at the very least we can talk some fighting. Sound good?
Yeah, man. I'm in. I'm available whenever. Let's do it.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Brendan. Take care. That is Brendan Morrison, former Vancouver Canuck forward. One of the, I mean, it's just so this industry, man, like the opportunities that I get every now and then. Young James was, watching Brendan Morrison kick some serious ass when I was in high school as part of the West Coast Express line. If anyone has no idea what I'm talking about, go Google West Coast Express, Vancouver Canucks era. One of the most exciting eras in Vancouver hockey. It was Brendan Morrison, Marcus Naslund, Todd Bertuzzi. Childhood memories for days watching that team. And kind of like this Vancouver Canucks team, a team that did really surprise people. Naslund coming into his own. There was all this talk. I mean, you go listen to that documentary I was just referencing there that Scott Rintoul did. There was a point when Marcus Naslund actually, it looked like he was going to get traded from the Canucks. It wasn't working out. And Brian Burke, bless him, gave him, gave him sort of the vote of confidence, and they took off. So yeah, highly recommend going and checking out highlights. Again, Brendan, just an absolute gem of an interview, and appreciate his time. So yeah, we talked a lot of Canucks on here. Let's quickly go over some of the scores from last night's game. There's only a couple games in action, and again, I'll get to your questions as well as we go through it. We'll also take a look at some of the games tonight from a betting perspective. But if you look at it here, last night, it is the Florida Panthers with a stranglehold on the Tampa Bay Lightning. 5-3 is the final score. You see a lot of unsung heroes here. Tkachuk, 2 goals. Montour, a goal and an assist. You got Steve Lorentz taking care of business as well. And Bobrovsky, of course, playing like he did last playoffs. It's very encouraging to see this for the Panthers. That's why I think they are going to be the team to beat in the East. And again, it's Tampa Bay we're talking about here. We're not talking about some team that just squeaked into the playoffs. Tampa Bay has been a staple of a franchise for the last couple seasons. And you look at it there, not a lot of production from their top guys. In fact, you got a guy for example, Kucherov, just 1 assist last night. You got to get a little bit more from that. And you see them also getting outshot last night too. So again, the Panthers looking pretty good to go to the second round. The other game last night, Carolina also putting a stranglehold. The other team we talked about, Brendan's team in the East, to go up 3-0 on the Islanders here. The Islanders, they didn't go away fighting. They were down 2-0 in the first period. Islanders getting 2 goals in the second, but ultimately Carolina holding on to that lead 3-2. You look at the shots on net there, 29 saves there for Frederik Andersen. On the other end, you see Sorokin having a bit of a rough game and getting replaced by Varlamov. So you never like seeing that. But again, I just think New York Islanders, listen, I love it. I'm a big Bo Horvat fan. I'm so happy to see Bo in the playoffs, but they are seriously getting outmatched in the series, and we're seeing that as Carolina takes a 3-0 lead on that. And then, just the 2 games last night. So tonight, here's what we got, and we'll go over some of the bets for tonight, some of the odds and everything else. We got the Rangers and Capitals. The Rangers can do what the Panthers and Hurricanes did last night, and that is take a stranglehold on the series here. The Capitals at home, though, so we'll see if that makes a difference or not. Alexander Ovechkin, even his coach, kind of said something the other day, Spencer Carberry, kind of calling him out a little bit. He's got to step up here and got to really elevate this team. We talked about that with the Canucks. Obviously, the Canucks and Predators tonight, if you missed it off the top, a bit of an earlier game for you on the West Coast, 4:30 Pacific time for this one, 7:30 Eastern. So that's one thing to keep in mind for tonight's game. And I did mention this off the top. I'm going to be going to Rogers Arena tonight with my family. We're going to be going to watch the Canucks game in the arena. I've never done that before. I just happened to get some tickets, so really excited to go watch that one. I'll take a few photos on my social media tonight, let you know how the atmosphere is. There's going to be about 10,000 fans in the arena watching the game tonight. So yeah, crucial game there for the Canucks. Again, I'll be keeping eyes. Actually, we might even have lineups right now. I'm going to go look. I'm going to see if we have an idea if Tyler Myers is playing tonight. We heard he had the flu, But the question is that, going to keep him out 2 games, 1 game? Not seeing any lineups right now. Here we go. So optional this morning here, we got Brendan Batchelor. Going to go check this out again. Follow Brendan if you want any sort of updates on lineup changes and everything else here. But you'll see there, Amon, Paul Colson, Juleson, Friedman, possible scratches for game 3. Not seeing anything about Tyler Myers. Let's see. Canucks regulars joining the group. Ian Clark running an optional skate. Okay, so we won't know for sure yet. It doesn't look like. Casey Smith obviously starting here. I mean, if I'm the Canucks, I mean, I don't want to jinx anything, but I will say this. If the Canucks end up not coming out on top tonight, and again, this isn't, the last loss had nothing to do with goaltending in my opinion, but you do wonder if Arthur Silovs does see some action tonight. He's their young prospect goalie. We've seen glimpses of him playing very well. You wonder if the Canucks do that just to maybe switch things up a little bit. But again, let's not even look past there. Let's hope. Listen, I don't mind being biased on here. I want the Canucks to win. I don't want the Predators to win. So, when I say we, I'm referring to the Canucks here. But yeah, let's hope the Canucks can get it done tonight. It would be such a big win in Nashville. So again, Canucks and Predators. And then obviously the big one here tonight as well. We've got the Jets and the Avalanche. Again, that series has been all over the place. The Avs taking the win in the last game. Can the Jets rebound here in Colorado? We'll see. Again, that's a 50-50 series. And then, of course, the big one, the Oilers and the Kings. Can the Oilers get the defensive and goaltending help in this game that they got in game 1? The Oilers were all over the Kings in game 1. The Kings looking to, obviously with some great goals in game 2. But, Stuart Skinner not playing so good. That's a big concern for the Oilers if you're looking to go out there and win the cup. Because remember, that's the expectation for the Oilers this season. It's not just about advancing in the first round or, going, making a little run here. Their goal is the cup. And you got to wonder here, if this keeps happening where the Oilers getting, ousted early, what does the future look like for Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid? I know they got some, they're under contract for a few more seasons here, but if they keep getting ousted, they might have to switch things up because it's clear that this isn't working. So big game there for the Oilers as they play the Kings. Should point out too, the Canucks got some of the toughest travel on the schedule. If you look on the map, the Canucks have to travel pretty far to Nashville compared to say the Oilers or the Jets and Avalanche, a little bit closer for those teams. So those are the games for tonight. Let's get a few more questions from you guys and then we'll start talking about the odds. I believe in DeSmith. Appreciate that, Billy. Yeah, go Canucks. Absolutely. Andrews, thanks for stopping by. Most important positions beside goalie, I would say your defenseman. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have players defending, it's pretty hard to outscore your defensive problems. So that's where the Canucks have been solid all season. They've had a healthy Quinn Hughes, healthy Filip Hronek. You saw Myers out the other night. I do think that did impact them a little bit. As much as Myers gets a lot of flack in this market, he is an important part of the team. He's a right shot defenseman, which we've talked about many times here on this show, is one of the most important positions in hockey. So to have him back and to have that muscle as well, we saw Zadorov throwing his body around a little bit. You need that from Tyler Myers as well. You got me on the Canucks bandwagon. Glad to hear it. There's more welcome to come, as far as the Canucks go. And, Andrew, I'd be cheering for the Sens if they were making some noise as well. So I appreciate that. How do you stay interested in hockey when your team is going through an awful period? You just listen. Being a Canucks fan, it's not easy, okay? We've had so much disappointment over the years. I just talked about Brendan's era. We had that whole thing with Todd Bertuzzi and Steve Moore, which, that was a team that was poised to go and make a run at the cup. It never happened. There were so many distractions with that team that they weren't able to get past even Calgary in the first round. You look at 2011, so close to winning the cup, up 2-0 in the series against Boston. Boston comes back and wins it. Yeah, it's just, if you're a Canucks fan, you're used to disappointment here. And honestly, this Demko news that came out the other day, the only thing I thought, or the first thing I thought when I saw that is like, this is so Canucks. Just when you think things are good, just when you think you get this big surprise this season where the team is surprising everyone and they're one of the top teams in the West, you have, arguably your most important player get injured. It's just a tough blow there. So as far as how you deal with it, you just got to know it's a roller coaster. There's so many highs and there's so many lows. Like Sunday night, okay, I'll give you guys this context here. Sunday night, I always have my mom over for dinner on Sundays, and we always get like a big family gathering on Sundays. And so I told my mom, I said, look, it's game 1 of the playoffs. The weather's nice. I'm going to go to the market. I'm going to get us some grass-fed steaks. You guys know I love eating some good steaks when I want to have a good meal. So did that, barbecued the steaks, had a few beers. We had the game on, and I'm watching it on Sunday night. And you know me, I don't like staying up late, but I was going to stay up and watch this game. And to see the Canucks come back in game 1, to see the crowd totally into it, see the crowd chanting. I wish I was there. I actually had a buddy that was at the game, and he was talking about just the atmosphere there being unreal. To witness that and to see them win the way they did, that's a memory I'll have forever. Like, I know it's one game, but like, this is the type of fun stuff you get to experience as a hockey fan where you really do get to like enjoy the ride, so to speak. And then on the flip side, I watched the game the other night and they're down and I knew they weren't going to come back. Like, you just know sometimes. I could just tell in the game, like when they're missing shots, when they're missing the net, when they're not being able to score in the power play, there's just some games, there's a feel where it's like, it's just not working out. And you call it bad luck, call it, make your own bad luck, whatever you want to call it. There's just some games you watch and it's not going to turn around. I didn't feel that way in game 1. I felt like there was lots of game left because I thought the Canucks were playing fairly well. They played well against Nashville in game 2 as well, but when you have bad puck luck, it really does impact the team. Hello, I had no idea this channel was a thing. How many channels do you appear on? Too many, way too many. But that's why I put everything on the playlist on my YouTube channel as well. I do work for Fanatics View doing MMA interviews, but I host a hockey show once a week here. So there you go. Who's more likely to score in your opinion? Besser, JT, or Petey? I feel like they will explode soon. The obvious choice here is JT Miller, just based off the evidence we've seen this year of him being able to step up and show up when we need it. I expect a big game from JT tonight. He is a superstar in this league as far as I'm concerned. This is a guy that will carry the team on his back. He will show emotion. He will go to those hard places. He'll land hits. He'll fight. He'll do it all. This is the exact type of guy any player would want on their team, someone that's willing to sacrifice everything just to get the win. And I expect JT to do that tonight. And I'm going to be cautiously optimistic here. And I say cautiously because it hasn't happened yet, but I think Pettersson's going to have a big game tonight. Listen, my biggest thing with him is when he gets the puck, just shoot it. He's far too calculated. I see him take that extra second, and that's where everyone's able to adjust, and they're able to block the shots. I just like to see Pettersson shoot it. Even if it means him missing the net, I just want to see that fast release so the goalies are having to think twice. We've seen glimpses of this. Someone yesterday posted on Twitter the highlights from Elias Pettersson in the bubble, and it looks like a completely different player. Like, that player's there. I don't think he's injured. I don't think it's anything to do with any sort of health issues. I think it's a confidence thing, and he's got to get that back, and I don't know what is going to take to do that because we know there's an elite player in there. It's just a matter of showing up at a time like this where you can really elevate the team. So Thomas Drance said this yesterday on the radio on Sportsnet 650, and I completely agree. The Canucks will not win this series if they don't have guys stepping up and taking over the game. Dakota Joshua was a good example of this in game 1. You need that in game 3 here tonight from some of your top players. So yeah, just need to see more from, Miller needs to, do a bit better than he did in game 2. Pettersson, Brock Besser, I'd like to see a little bit more from him as well. Dakota Joshua, Garland's a guy that always steps up too. You need to see games like that from those guys in order for them to win the series. Coach said he had some adjustments, knew he'd make it right after game 2. I wonder what they could be. I heard something about, I think I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure Lindholm is replacing Garland on that first unit power play. So that's another guy that needs to get going, okay? The Canucks gave up a lot to get Elias Lindholm. He hasn't really worked out from an offensive perspective. You kind of knew that was the case because his offensive production has dropped off drastically the last couple seasons. He's known for his defense, but now's the time when you need him to step up and show some offense. And not even just for the team, but this is a guy that is going to be a UFA in the season. If you want to get a big contract, you got to show it in the playoffs. It doesn't matter. Elias Lindholm has an opportunity here because let's be honest, it hasn't worked out in Vancouver. He's played well defensively, but he hasn't done anything offensively, and that's what the Canucks, I think, were hoping to have when they acquired him. So it's not even like, I don't think he's going to be back next year. I think he's going to want too much money, and that's fine. Like, I think it was worth the risk. Kuzmenko was a healthy scratch. He was a defensive liability. The move was right to trade for Elias Lindholm, but my thing is, if he wants a decent contract next year, he's got to show up in the playoffs. So it's not even him showing up for the team. It's showing up for himself on the next contract. He's got to go out there and really take his game to another level here. So I'd like to see more from Elias Lindholm as well. I've only been following the Canucks closely this year. If Pettersson is always so calm and quiet, he never seems to show any emotion. Some guys are like that and they play well. Joe Sakic is a great example of someone who, was not a rah-rah guy in the locker room, not someone that's, you see show too much emotion, but you look at him, he's one of the best players in NHL history, and all that doesn't matter as long as you're showing up on the score sheet. So, listen, there's potential there with Pettersson. I think we still forget. I think he's 24 years old? How old's Pettersson? Let me go look that up to get the exact age there. So there's still a lot of room for improvement here. And people asking, why is Pettersson getting paid more than JT Miller? Because you're betting on that potential here. He's 25 years old. He turns 26 in November. So it's time for him to step up. This is a great opportunity here tonight in game 3. Alfredsson got accused of that his whole career until he led the team in the final to 2007. So there you go. Andrew, great example there. Looking back on players' careers. Sometimes, certain guys will pop in the playoffs. I mean, we see it all the time. I brought this up on the last stream. Like, do you guys remember the Oilers run way back when with Fernando Pisani? Like a guy no one had heard of. And this is a guy who just came out of nowhere and stepped up for the Oilers. You need players like that on the team to do that, and I think the Canucks have a couple guys that could really elevate their games this playoff, so we'll see what happens there. Let's get to the betting odds for tonight and some of the things that I like and I don't like just from a betting perspective. Again, just a couple games on the docket here tonight as we're looking here, just 4 games on the docket, so let's go have a quick look here. One thing that has been hitting, although this game, and actually I don't know if it hit last night, actually let me just double check that. Yeah, it didn't hit last night, but the under has been hitting a lot for the Lightning and Panthers series. So that's something to keep in mind on. So you can see the Rangers still under 2-1. I think the Rangers will still get it done. I think the Rangers and Carolina are just so much better. I really do think it's worth it. And again, I'm not an expert here, but I do think it's worth it to lay money both on the Rangers and on the Hurricanes going forward. I could see them both sweeping here. So I will be betting the Rangers tonight at -177. You can see the Predators are slight favorites. I might wait a little bit on this. I could see the Predators being more favorites, and then you get the Canucks at plus money. But of course, I'm going to bet the Canucks. I think they can come back. Like I said, if you take some positives away from game 2, they did control the play quite well in game 2. It's just those block shots. They're not getting anything on net. They got to score more. And that's been a problem even before the playoffs for the Canucks. The scoring has slowed down a lot. And a lot of that too is them playing very good defensively, but you got to score. You can't win a game if you're not scoring goals. It's as simple as that. You see the Jets as dogs against the Avalanche. I might throw a little bit on the Jets. I think there's still potential there. They have the better goaltender. The Jets, it's just a matter of all cylinders firing. I'm going to take the Jets here at plus money tonight as well. The Kings are underdogs against the Oilers. The Oilers should still win. They're the better team. You saw it in game 1. Yeah, I mean, it's always a risk betting the Oilers because the goaltending, but I think the Oilers can win this tonight. I think they bounce back. I think McDavid picks it up. I think McDavid just had maybe 1 assist in the last game, if I'm not mistaken. He's got to pick it up for the team as well. And that's the thing. There's guys like McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, even Evander Kane, guys on the Oilers that can step up. I should say Hyman as well, that can really be difference makers. So they need to see that here tonight. As far as any totals for the game, I think the over is worth a shot on Jets and Avalanche just because that Avalanche goaltending is very questionable. And Hellebuck, as great as he's been, he's let in a lot of goals too. So you're getting the over at just -115 there. I'm probably going to stay away from the totals in this game. I really don't know what's going to happen. I think last game, the under hit in that one. And then the Hurricanes and Islanders, that's tomorrow night. So we'll skip that, but I might as well look ahead to tomorrow as well. Again, I think the Hurricanes can close out the series. I like them under 2-1 favorites. Same thing with the Panthers. You're almost getting Panthers this is almost even score. I get it because the Lightning, a lot of people feel like of all teams to win one game, it's going to be the Lightning, but I'm going to be sticking with the Panthers here and betting them as well. The Leafs and the Bruins, man, I think the Leafs can come back. I think they can get a win here. I picked them to win the series. It was tough what happened last game, but I do think they can make the adjustments. They just got to get Brad Marchand under their head. And if they can do that and they can stay focused and calm and not giving up a goal right away, that was a tough thing last game. The Leafs scoring and then the Bruins scoring shortly after. The Leafs are at home. It's pretty hard to play in that building. I'm going to go with the Leafs here. And I'm going with the Dallas Stars. They got to win a game here, guys. I will be shocked if Vegas wins a third game here. Again, I know Vegas is one of those most dangerous teams in the playoffs right now, but I'm still a believer in Dallas. I think if there's any team that's down 2-0 that can come back and win a series, it's the Dallas Stars. They're too talented for them not to do it. And I'm not just saying that because my boss Taylor's probably watching this and going, please have some faith in the Dallas Stars. So those are some of the bets I like. Again, bet at your own discretion. I am not an expert. I'm just someone who loves watching hockey and loves talking about it. So there we go. What do we have here? Some guys just have body language that doesn't reflect their actual effort. And Pettersson's a good example of this. Yeah, I would agree. Like, again, the thing that people don't talk about enough with Pettersson is his defensive play. The hits. He had a number of hits like Brendan mentioned there on the stream here. So those are things you got to keep tabs on. So nice watching the playoffs when your team isn't there. You aren't emotionally invested. Couldn't disagree more. I have never been more happy than I have been the Canucks being back in the playoffs. Listen, I'm willing to take the pain. I'm willing to take that dose of pain when there's bad games or losses or anything like that in the playoffs. But yeah, I can't. My attention is not nearly as focused on the playoffs if my team's not in it. And it's been a long time. Like, we can talk about the bubble. I was watching during the bubble. It was a bit of a weird season. It still didn't have the same feeling this does because you don't get to see the fans. So we have to go all the way back to 2015, the last time the Canucks were in the playoffs. And even then, I don't think there was many high expectations for that team. That Sedins were on the tail end of their career. You had a much different roster back then. You had Ryan Miller in net. It was a very different team back then. This team has potential to make a run, I think, even without Demko. So that's what is keeping my interest. It's not like, you think of all the Canucks teams of the past, a lot of times it was like they'd squeak in the playoffs and you're just sort of happy to be there. This Canucks team, there's expectations with how they played in the regular season, so that's what's got me more invested. Bruins have got this one. Marchand and Swayman are in their heads. We'll see, man. Leafs at home, I think they've got a great opportunity here tonight to take care of business, but again, Boston has somewhat gotten their heads as well. What three-way would you like tonight? Been thinking cashing Rangers and Carolina, thinking the Jets is the three-way play today. I would agree with that. Yeah, I think that hits. I would take the Jets as well. I'm never a fan of taking plus money on a parlay. I would maybe just do the Rangers and Carolina to be safe. And then maybe for the Jets game, you take the over. I think that might be the better play because just in case, you never know with Colorado, man. Like they're dangerous, man. I think Dallas ties the series, no guaranteed overalls. It's fair. Mad, my series bet are parlayed and Dallas isn't looking good. That's why we have a 7-game series. Don't give up. I disagree as well with the Sens being out for 7 years. You need emotional connection to get the most out of the playoffs. Yeah, I completely agree. Trust me, I watched the playoffs last year. Did I watch every game? No. Am I staying up late watching every game? No. The Canucks are playing. I'm staying up late and watching every single game. So, yeah, there we go. By the way, Andrew, I just have to quickly mention this as a side note. My brother-in-law's in town this week. Guess what movie we watched last night? Because I'm now showing it to all my friends. We watched Samurai Cop last night, and he laughed just as hard as you did. This is totally off topic, guys, but if you ever need to watch a really bad martial arts movie that will make you laugh your ass off because of how bad it's done, it's Samurai Cop. Go look it up. You can even find clips on YouTube. I guarantee you'll laugh your ass off. Just wanted to mention that. Also, Andrew, I'm playing golf today in the pouring rain like we did when you were here in December. So we're going out today and braving the conditions, and then I'm going to be basically, listen, I got the best day possible. I'm talking hockey here this morning. I'm going to play golf after this in the rain. I don't even care it's raining. Just to go out and play golf is awesome. And then we're going to the Rogers Arena to watch the Canucks. I don't consider the bubble as a canon season. I consider it a spinoff that makes sense. There's no fans though. It was just a different. It didn't have the same feel that this playoffs has. Is kind of what I'm getting at. So that's my thought on that as well. I think the Leafs are struggling with the physicality. They got bullied a lot on Wednesday. I'd like to go look at the hits. I don't think it was that off. And the Leafs have guys that can grind. You've got Bertuzzi. Even I know Max Domi's not really like his dad, but he is an agitator as well. He can kind of get in there. You've got a couple hits there. But yeah, the Bruins, they've always been known for being a very physical team. Samurai Cop, exactly. Yeah, great friggin' movie, man. I thought he was about to say Roadhouse. No, the old Roadhouse is a mandatory view if you're a man. You have to watch that. It's just a great show. So, completely agree as well. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I want the Tucson Roadrunners to win their series. Good for Arizona if they win. Tucson, I'm guessing, is an AHL team. I got to look into that. Yeah, that's pretty impressive that they're still going. Because back before Phoenix had an NHL team, they were the Phoenix Roadrunners. So I'm actually going to make a note of that to check out that. I love their jersey with the Roadrunner on the front. That's great. All right, guys, we got about 15 minutes left. Keep the questions coming. We can talk about some of the scores. We can talk about whatever you guys want. Anything that's going on in the news right now. I'm still trying to get updates on Thatcher Demko and lineups to the Canucks right now. Anything that we can sort of grab here as well. Yeah, the latest, like I said, we'll just shout out to Taj on Twitter. Does a great job kind of transcribing what some of these insiders are saying, but I'll show you the quote here. Frank Seller Valley, who's one of the most plugged in journalists in hockey right now, says, I believe he's out for the series. If the Canucks can get into the second round, he's got a chance to play again. I did see a report that he's done for the playoffs. I don't think that's accurate. If Frank's saying I don't think that's accurate, I take Frank's word for it. I'm not going to mention the reporter that did say he's out for the series, but I'll just say that reporter's not as connected as Frank is, in my opinion. So this is good news. Even if they can, what a story it would be if the Canucks could beat the Predators, which I think they will, and then beat the Oilers, because I'm assuming the Oilers are going to beat the Kings, and Demko comes back. What a story that would be. Yeah. Again, Canucks, though, their luck, most likely not going to happen, but you never know there. So we'll see. So pumped for tonight's game. I am as well, man. I can't wait. Again, just to be able to be at the arena, because if I wasn't going to go to the arena tonight, I was just going to go to a bar and watch it. I didn't want to be at home for this one. When you're in the playoffs, you want to be with a bunch of people, a bunch of other fans. So I'll be wearing this Quinn Hughes jersey. So normally I wear my Pettersson jersey to the game. My father-in-law, who's coming with us, he has a Pettersson jersey as well. So we'll kind of be looking the same. Figured I'd go with the Hughes jersey. I wore the Pettersson jersey last game. They lost. I like switching it up whenever the Canucks lose. I got a couple Canucks jerseys. You can see the Kevin Bieksa one. I've also got the stick sweater there. I've got a Pavel Bure jersey as well that I have, an old Canucks skate logo there too. So I got a lot of variety for Canucks apparel. I went to the arena for a road game a few years back in Ottawa. Sens lost, but the atmosphere is really good. You're going to have a great time. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Actually, we got the tickets through a dad who is, his son is on my son's ball hockey team. Which I've told you guys many times. I do coach U9 ball hockey. It's one of my favorite things I've got a chance to do, to be able to coach kids, just to teach them hockey and play hockey. And ball hockey is just such a more laid back sport than ice hockey. Anyone lives in Canada, ice hockey is intense. When my son did ice hockey this season, there's 10 coaches on the ice. It's intense in a good way. It just shows how strong the program is. But with ball hockey, I'm out there with a couple other dads. It's you're basically playing road hockey with helmets and gloves, and it's a good time. So I got to do that last night. So one of the kids that's on my kids' ball hockey team, him and his dad will be coming to the game tonight as well. So sure, I'll see a lot of Canucks fans out there. And the off chance any of you are from Vancouver and going to the arena tonight, make sure you say hi. I would love to meet some of you. There's such a simple fix to Demmer's injury. Just call Mark Stone's doctor. That too. Well, no, Mark Stone, I don't know if he was actually dealing with something as serious as Demko was, if you know what I'm saying. I hope this team gives the proceeds to charity for these tickets, at least partially. Well, they're only $15, but yeah, I agree. I think the Canucks, I will give them credit. They've done a good job with the fan base this year. They've done a variety of different nights to celebrate certain things. They're good on social media. Like they did a post a couple months back about like nice to see the Canucks fans out in Chicago when they were playing the Blackhawks. So they had like a couple, fans that went to Chicago and they took a photos of their jersey. And then the fourth photo was Connor Bedard, which was like a nice little troll on the Blackhawks. Of course, Connor Bedard growing up in Vancouver, being a Canucks fan. And I'm predicting Connor Bedard will come to the Canucks one day. I mean, you just hear him talk about the team. I know Chicago is going to be a great team in a few years, but Connor Bedard coming to the city, fans will go absolutely nuts. Like, I hope it happens someday. So there we go. Guys, we'll do maybe about another 5 minutes here because I kind of feel like we've covered all bases. There's not a ton going on right now. I did talk about, some of the games that are going on. Maybe let's get some questions from you. Any concerns, any things you have with the playoffs right now, anything you're keeping an eye on, any injuries. One thing I should talk about with Carolina, and they're still getting it done, Brett Pesce out for the Hurricanes as well. That's a bit of a blow to them, but it doesn't seem to matter in this matchup here. Looking at the bracket right now, let me just actually figure out if the series goes the way they do, which teams would match up with who. Right now, let's see what we have. So right now, the way things stand right now, if we're just going off how the series are, so the Vegas Golden Knights right now are leading the Stars. If they end up winning, they're going to play the winner of the Winnipeg Jets and Colorado Avalanche, which I think is a total coin flip. The Canucks and Predators will play the winner of the Oilers and Kings. How like Canucks of it would it be if the Kings upset the Oilers and the Canucks, like this would be the most Canucks thing ever. Canucks beat the Predators, okay? Demko somehow comes back in game 2, but they play the Kings, who have notoriously played well against the Canucks all year, and the Kings beat them. Like, that would not surprise me. Like, just because that's just the way things go. And I'm not being a pessimist. I'm not throwing bad juju out there. I'm just a realist as a Canucks fan. It does happen where we have these really weird circumstances. It's like when we were this close to playing Tampa Bay in the final instead of Boston in 2011. It was game 7. Boston wins. And I think everyone thought, oh, Boston will be the better matchup. Well, no, it wasn't. They ended up winning the cup. Over on the east side, the winner of the Capitals and Rangers will play Carolina and New York. I mean, the fact that we could be getting the Capitals and the Hurricanes in round 2, I mean, that could easily be an East final. So that's pretty crazy. And then obviously the winner of the Bruins and the Leafs will play the winner of the Panthers and the Leafs. So no matter what, we're going to have an interesting matchup in the second round. I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that Florida will beat Tampa Bay. So Florida's either going to play Boston or Toronto, 2 teams that they played last year in the playoffs. So the East is going to get really interesting in the second round, assuming the Panthers do go through. And I'm not jinxing anything, but the optics right now, pretty tough for Tampa Bay to come back after a 3-1 deficit there, or 3-0 deficit, I should say, in there. So let's keep the questions coming as well. Where's William Nylander? I guess he's injured. Again, this is why it's a grind of a season. You need players to be healthy come playoff time. The Canucks hot, they had that with Demko. Demko gets a freak injury. It's a tough sport. That's why I will never, ever, ever talk crap on NHL players, because you know these guys are playing injured 99% of the time. And they're some of the toughest athletes in the world, in my opinion. Fun story, I wore my Luongo jersey while DJing last Saturday in Toronto at a bar. Got a lot of positive comments. Canucks, well, you know what? It's that patch too, man. I love the patch. And by the way, who convinced you to get that jersey? I did. It's a collector's item. He's got the Luongo jersey with the Luongo patch on it when he went into the Ring of Honor. It's a super cool looking jersey. Like, I think of all jerseys to own, like as a Canucks fan, that's got to be one of the coolest ones. So good call on that, by the way. Got a lot of positive comments. Canucks are getting good support here. Played the OK Blue Jays when the Leafs lost. There we go. There we go, because obviously people look ahead to baseball. So, yeah, listen, I like it because, 2011, let's talk about the narrative back then. The people weren't cheering for the Canucks, You're kind of against the Canucks. People didn't like certain players. People didn't like Alexander Burrows and all that. So it's fine. I think as Canucks fans, we're kind of used to the rest of Canada not liking us. But I'll be completely honest. I'm kind of the same way. I don't like the Oilers. If the Canucks do end up playing the Oilers, you're going to hear a lot of anti-Oilers propaganda on this channel. I'm just not a fan. And I've told my reasons for this before. But basically, my issue with the Oilers is, how many first overall picks have they got in their history? Tons. Canucks have never got a first overall pick. So by that, and I know that's not their fault, that's the way the NHL does their lottery, but like, I got an issue with that. Why do they keep getting first overall picks? That pisses me off. So that's why I don't like the Oilers. The Jets, I'm kind of impartial. I kind of don't like the Jets as well, because I wish we would have got Tyler Toffoli back on our team instead of them getting Toffoli. So that one always kind of irks me. But the Jets, I don't really have any sort of feeling towards them. And then the Leafs, I want to see them do well. Honestly, hockey is better when the Leafs are in the playoffs. It really is. There's more, the country's more captivated when the Leafs are playing. But it's the media coverage from the Leafs that drives everyone nuts. Like, you could have a Canucks game on and they could be, playing in overtime and doing an amazing game. And it's like, we got to go to right now. We're going to Austin Matthews at practice right now because he broke a finger, like that's the way the media works in Canada. They always, prioritize the Leafs over everything else. So that's why I think, like, honestly, I think if you ask most fans, I don't think a lot of people hate the Leafs. I think they just hate the coverage of the Leafs. It's overdone, so that's kind of my thoughts on the Leafs and everything else. But I hope they do well. By the way, got to mention this on the show as well. Bob Cole, the legendary play-by-play broadcaster for CBC and Hockey Night in Canada, has passed away yesterday. Want to send out my condolences. Bob Cole, there is nobody like Bob Cole in any sport, in my opinion. Just the way he called games, iconic. I posted it yesterday on my Twitter. My favorite Bob Cole call was the one in the Olympics, Salt Lake City, 2003 or 2002, I can't remember, when Joe Sakic scored against Team USA. One of my favorite calls ever. Surely that's got to be it. His call at the end when Canada was up. I know people talk about Crosby and the golden goal, but the Joe Sakic goal against Team USA back then was one of my favorite calls of Bob Cole, and someone that I've never, like, I've told you guys this before, like, I never got into sports media to do commentary. I've done commentary for MMA, and it's fun and also very challenging at the same time, but I have a lot of respect for people who do the play-by-play work, because it's tough, man. You got to remember all the players, you got to be on the ball, you have to watch every second of the game to analyze it, and it's a very difficult job. So Bob Cole, shout out to one of the legends here. I'll give you a salute there from my Yoshi Cup here as well. No one expressed the excitement in his voice during big plays like Cole, and he did it so seamlessly, Andrew. Like, he did it in a way where, like, it was just like he sort of eased into it. Win or loss, whether they're winning or losing, he knew how to ramp up the levels. That's something they talked about yesterday in the Jeff Merrick show, that Cole had this ability of, like, when it was a big goal, getting it to 5, and then when it was, maybe like a good play, getting it to 2 or 3. It's very hard to do that in broadcasting. And here's the other thing. I mean, they talked about this on the radio yesterday. How many broadcasters now are like Bob Cole? You can't really find them. Bob was just a smooth, constant professional when it came to doing his calls. Now you get a lot of play-by-play guys trying to be analysts. I don't really like that. I like the old school one where they're just describing the play. They're letting the flow of the play go, and it's very awesome there as well. I'll be watching hockey and golf over MMA this week. I'm not watching. Listen, I've told you guys this before. I'm not watching the UFC card. I'll watch it on Sunday. I'll PVR it. NHL playoffs are way more important in my world right now. Actually, I have to coach hockey tomorrow during the day. I'll come home, I'll relax, have maybe a nice meal, maybe a drink or two, and or maybe something else instead of a drink, and I'll be watching some hockey tomorrow. That's how I like doing it. Chris Cuthbert is the closest. Yes, I love Chris Cuthbert. Huge fan of his as far as his calls. I love Jim Houston back in the day. I like John Shorthouse a lot in Vancouver. He does the play-by-play for the Canucks on television. What I like are guys that are unique. Cuthbert has his own sound. John Shorthouse has his own sound. You don't see that from everyone. A lot of times you'll be hearing a broadcast and you're like, who is that? And then you kind of realize they sound like everyone else. It's very hard to differentiate yourself as well. The Colorado commentator is my favorite. Who is that? I'm trying to remember who that is. But I do feel like he has some good calls too. Like Rick Janneret, blessed his soul, passed away, earlier, I think it was either earlier this year or late last year. No one sounded like Rick Janneret in Buffalo. And like, that made me more of a fan of the Sabres because I loved listening to his calls. La 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 Fontaine. Like, yeah, I could go on and on. I'm one of these like nerds when it comes to hockey that like romanticizes about like old time hockey or like good calls or like all that. Like, I remember, Andrew, you know this. I remember TSN used to show like Legends of Hockey when I was like, in grade 3, grade 4, I would sit there and watch all of them. They'd be talking about like old teams of the past. They need to do more of that. I saw that Joe Sakic documentaries on Amazon. I am definitely going to be watching that at some point soon. I love any sort of hockey related documentary content or anything that looks back on the history. I just love the history of hockey. I find it so interesting. And that's one thing that I will definitely make time for as well. Mark Moser. Okay, got you. I have Legends of Hockey DVDs still. That's awesome. We gotta, next time you come here, next time I go to Toronto, we gotta watch those and maybe pop in an edible and take in some of the great action there as well. Guys, let's get 2 more questions here and then we're gonna end the show. I got a tea time I gotta hit, so don't want to be late for that. But again, appreciate you guys tuning in, and again, big thank you to Brendan Morrison for joining us here on the show. Just super cool for me, guys. Like, again, kid growing up in Vancouver, watched Brendan Morrison my whole career. This is actually the second time I've had a chance to interview him. I have a mutual friend of his, the producer he referenced on the show, Real West Coast, is a friend of mine, so that's where we were able to get this set up. Have you ever seen it? Thoughts? Legends of Hockey? Yeah, I've watched Legends of Hockey a bunch of times. Yeah, when I was younger, they used to show it on TSN all the time. So back in the day, so. Doing this show is a big step for me. I think the next step, and I don't know, I just haven't found time to do it, but one of these days I want to get credentials and go cover a hockey game, an NHL game. If I do that, I think my career is complete. I've done everything in MMA I could do, but to go cover a hockey game as a credentialed media member, that's on the list. And the best part is with Fanatics View, I do have those credentials. I do have the option if I want to go cover a game, as far as I know. So maybe in the future, we'll see. Was there any hockey betting scandal like the popular Japanese player? Yeah, Shane Pinto got suspended this year. Go look up Shane Pinto for the Ottawa Senators, Andrew's team. There's a whole thing with him being suspended for the season on betting. So I think there's more. I'll say that. And not just in the NHL, but I think across the sports, I think there's some betting stuff going on. So we'll see if that ends up coming to the surface. Oh, I meant the Alexander Daigle one. No, but I saw, the documentary. No, but I did see, I heard him on the Cam and Strick podcast a little while back, but no, I haven't seen the documentary thing they did. There's a few documentaries I haven't seen. They also did one on the 2011 riots for the Canucks. I have yet to see that one because you know how it is in Canada. E60 or 30 for 30, the ESPN, we don't get it till like months later for some stupid reason. So you have to try and look for it on the internet. I wasn't able to find it. It's only 45 minutes. Oh, it could be 3 hours. I'll watch it. I love hockey documentary stuff. So if you know where I can watch it, I would love to check that one out. All right, good time to end the show here, guys. Really appreciate it. Again, we'll be back on our usual time slot on Wednesday, doing the show probably 9 a.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m. Pacific time. Unless we can get another guest, then maybe I'll do this on a different day. But appreciate you guys joining me here on a rare Friday. If you guys have any questions, post them in the comments. We have a smaller viewership here, so I'm able to sort of get to the questions when I have time. I hope everyone enjoys Game 2 of the Predators and the Canucks here tonight, and every other game that's going on this weekend. Really appreciate the support, guys. If you can hit that like button before we get out of here, that would be a huge help to the show. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy the action tonight. I'm James Lynch. Also, a quick thanks to Brendan Morrison for joining us here on the show. We'll try and get Brendan on back at a certain point on this program. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys